Okay, hello everyone. Let's see, got some people joining. Thank you everyone for joining our May member webinar for AHC, titled Art House Theater Day Deep Dive. As you can see, I'm joined by our esteemed panel and Art House Theater Day programming team, made up of Rebecca Fons, Stephanie Watts, Alissa Humphrey, and Bradley Smith, who might be joining here in just a few minutes. Let me share my screen really quick just to do some Art House Theater Day overview before we get started. Let's see here. This works. You guys able to see that? Yes. Cool. So yeah, everybody's here for this member webinar. Art House Theater Day this year is on July 30th, Thursday. So we wanted to give a couple months before the date just to allow our team to talk about the process of choosing the slate this year and the fellowship and also just all things Art House Theater Day and kind of what makes this day great for independent cinemas across the country. So this year, Art House Theater Day is our seventh annual Art House Theater Day. Program started in 2016. Obviously, during COVID, there was a couple years of hiatus, but since 2024, I believe, it has been recurring every year. And we would like to, continue this forever, hopefully, as, something like Record Store Day or anything else like that that you can think of that, has been a staple of that specific community over those years. Art House Theater Day is something that we all feel like is and can be the same sort of thing. This is our second annual programming fellowship. Our mentors this year, like I mentioned earlier, are Rebecca and Stephanie. Stephanie is returning. She was a part of the inaugural mentorship team last year. And then Alissa and Bradley are joining as our second annual programming fellows. This is also the second year that we've had an official ambassador. Last year, this started with Sean Baker and Samantha Kwan, who were gracious enough to record a bunch of crazy promotional spots and also a Q&A with Tangerine. Now this year we have Boots, who recorded some even more crazier promotional spots and a Q&A for Sorry to Bother You. So anyone that's booking Sorry to Bother You, you'll have access to that Q&A for your post-film screening or post-film Q&A playlist. We have six films on our slate this year, which I'll give a highlight here in just a sec. And then we are encouraging as many I just put 100 there just because it's a nice round number, but really any cinema that is open on July 30th, anywhere in the world that is independently owned and kind of you know, under the same sort of operations as most of our theaters in the Art House Convergence Network. We are encouraging to participate in Art House Theater Day just to kind of use us all as a way to enhance the day and bring people together and to experience this sort of community that art house theaters provide, even if it is just for July 30th. And then obviously like July 30th, using that as an opportunity to promote the year-round operations that a lot of you folks do in your communities. Currently, we're sitting at 83 participants or participating theaters, and all those theaters will receive exclusive collateral like our Art House Theater Day poster, promotional spots with Boots Riley, our ambassador, inclusion on our map and public communications, and then also exclusive booking terms for slate titles. Here we go. So here's just a look at our programmers, which you can all see here as well on the Zoom. And I'll give them all a chance to introduce themselves here in just a sec once I finish talking. Our 2026 slate is made up of Sorry to Bother You, which is our ambassador pick from Boots Riley, two 50th year anniversary films, Network and Car Wash, and then three new films, Orfeo, Sugar Island, and Once Upon a Time in a Cinema. And we'll have opportunity to hear about more of those specifically as well. Here is our map at the current moment. Like I said, about 83 cinemas currently. We would love to fill this out with a lot more labels and orange dots anywhere in the world as well. Obviously, you see some in Canada, but if you know anyone that has a theater outside the US, please encourage them to participate as well. And then here's our poster, our beautiful poster that was designed by Kyle Calvert, who is marketing and graphics designer at the Indiana University Cinema, one of our member cinemas. Did a lot of amazing work on this poster this year. And yeah, these are all things that you guys will have access to as a participating theater as well. So I'm going to stop sharing. And I'm going to kick it to Stephanye to introduce herself as our, like I said, our returning mentor for our Cedar Day.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for stopping in the middle of your Tuesday, which I know feels like a Monday since we were all off, and chatting with us about all things Art House Theater Day. As Colton said, my name is Stephanye Watts, and I'm the founder of Bebro Black Cinema Club. We are an advocacy group that meets up at Brooklyn Academy of Music and Philadelphia Film Society every month to watch a film by an independent Black filmmaker. And I've been serving on the board for Art House Convergence for I think 3 years now, 4 years now. Oh my God, time is flying. And just really excited to be a second year mentor for this project. In my day life, I work in museums. I'm the community engagement coordinator for Historic Germantown. So my work is all about connecting community to arts and cultures. So this is like a dream opportunity to be a part of this fellowship and been working with some amazing fellows that you all will get to meet and I promise will fall in love with because they're really, really dope. And I'll pass the mic to Rebecca.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. My name is Rebecca Fons, and good afternoon to everyone. Good evening. It's good evening for me. I'm actually messaging from Greece, so if my internet's a little spotty, I apologize. I am the head of cinema at the Barbican Center in London, England. I moved from Chicago and from the US last fall to take the job here in London. And before that, I was the director of programming at the Gene Siskel Film Center for about 5 years. And before that, I was at Film Scene in Iowa City and at the Chicago International Film Festival in Chicago. So I am like a diehard Midwesterner, but now a Londoner. But my roots in the Midwest they run deep. It's been really my pleasure to be on this committee and working with the fellows and working with Stephanie. I've been a member of Art House Convergence for about 10 years, and I was a member of the transitional working group for Art House Convergence, which transitioned the Art House Convergence into this current board structure. And I think a lot about audiences all the time. I mean, I think now about British audiences, but I've worked in education and I've worked in rural communities and urban communities and big cities and really small towns and college communities. So thinking about audiences is really, I mean, what we all do all the time, but to be able to do it in this capacity and work with this team and think about just one particular day and how we can really work with all of you and all of your communities and all of your theaters and make a slate that's really special that you can all choose from to work in your spaces and with your community and with your audiences has been a real pleasure to do that. And to think about it in such a special way has been a lot of fun and a lot of joy. So thank you for the opportunity. And it's really fun to be here today. So I'll pass it on to Alissa or to Colton or to Alissa. What do you prefer, Colton?
Let's go to Alissa.
Okay, great. Alissa.
Hi, everybody. My name is Alissa Humphrey. I am one of the programming fellows this year. And I'm honestly just like really honored to be able to work with Rebecca and Stephanie and Bradley. They've taught me all so much. And it's just been a really great time to program this slate and to watch a whole bunch of films and to learn what works, what doesn't work, and what I can do better to become a better programmer. So a little about me. I am a multidisciplinary artist. I'm a cultural worker, and I'm an emerging documentary film professional. I hold an MFA in documentary film from Wake Forest University. So I was based in Winston-Salem for a few years, and that's where I kind of got my start within immersing myself more in the independent, especially art house scene. I'm very close with Aperture Cinema. And so that was just kind of like my heart and soul. I was there like all the time seeing a whole bunch of art house films. And that's when I was just kind of like, oh, this is a safe space. This is a community, for people to be able to enjoy things. And that's just been kind of my whole thing. I also work with film festivals. I'm a board member for Out at the Movies Film Festival in Winston. Look us up. We're a really great organization. We do a lot of great community screenings around Winston and things like that. It's pretty great. And I've also done some work for River Run International Film Festival as well. Worked as a box office manager last year, and then worked as a Pitch Fest coordinator. And I'm also a documentary filmmaker, so I make short films here and there. I'm just also kind of working to understand more of our humanity and make this world a better place little by little. And I also like to do that through programming, collaging, writing, a whole bunch of different things. But either way, to help myself connect to other people and things like that. So it's been a whirlwind and it's been awesome. So I'm excited to, get started and to answer these questions.
Great. Yeah. Well, before we get into some of the slate specific questions, I guess I just want to ask you guys about the fellowship and mentorship program in general, because like I said, it is in its second year, so still in its infancy. Stephanie, I guess I'll start with you, given that you were a part of the team last year. So now being in your second year of mentorship for this annual program, what would you say that you have enjoyed most about the program and working with the fellows, and how have you been able to bring your own experience to the table?
Yeah, when we first met, it was really important for us to say as mentors that like, yes, our title is mentor, but the folks that we bring on to this fellowship know their stuff. So much so, I'm always learning things from our fellows this year and last year. I don't come from a film background. I just started the club because I was like, oh, I'm at the movies and there's no black people here, So I just don't know this world in the same way. I come from corporate America. And so my movie list has gotten so long because our fellows have this like encyclopedia of films that they're like, you gotta see. So my queue is ridiculous. I'm also learning other ways about how other film ecosystems operate and exist in other parts of the country. I'm here in Philly and I still also work in New York, so I'm very East Coast specific. But with Bradley being out in the Southwest, with Alissa being in Southeast, I've also learned a lot about what's going on in other parts of the country, which has been really interesting. And also, too, how people are thinking about film. I just only people I get to nerd out with really about this are club members, our film club members. And that's just a group of like 20 folks. So also just really getting to nerd out with people has been really amazing as part of the fellowship on a social level. And sorry, Colton, what was the second question? The second part of the question?
Just about bringing your own programming experience to the table for this.
Yes. So, like I was saying in my day job, I'm the community engagement person. So I'm always thinking about how do I get people to come into these house museums that are talking about these white guys that died in 1722, right? And so, this work is interesting because we're thinking about people who may feel like independent film is not for them. They're not artsy enough or they're not heady enough. But through this slate, we're able to kind of like Trojan horse folks in by a film that's something that is a classic may open the door for someone to think about a film that's a little more experimental. And so just using the work that I do in my day job about, finding ways to meet audiences where they are is what I kind of bring to this fellowship as a mentor.
Awesome. And Rebecca, same question for you. Just like what about this program allows you to bring your own experience to the fellows while also, kind of learning from them and learning from Stephanie and just the program in general and curating this lineup.
Yeah, I mean, I think something that like I learned and really loved and took from this and was I think curating can be really lonely. I think maybe some folks who curate who are listening can have experienced that. I mean, even if you curate with a team, sometimes if you're doing a program yourself, like you kind of have to just like do the research and you kind of go into your own little corner and it can be it's a grind, and you're in a spreadsheet and you're watching films and you're just kind of by yourself. And so this has been a really wonderful experience. And I hope I think we all feel the same, is that we've been able to meet on a regular basis, and we're watching the films on our own, but we're coming back and we're talking to one another. And I've certainly experienced the opposite of that, where I've watched the films by myself, like everyone's at the beach having a good time, and I'm just like in my room watching movies, like crying, and then just like doing all the work by myself. So it's been very, very lovely to talk to one another, and we had like really great discourse and conversations about like a film that was like, should we include this for this reason? And it's like, no, we shouldn't include it for that reason. Like, just because of that reason, we shouldn't include it. Or so to have those conversations is really wonderful. No matter what experience you bring to the table, to be able to talk to someone else about their experience, their lived experience, or their programmatic experience, or what they thought about the film, just their opinion or their perspective, is just so wonderful to widen the conversation. Your experience grows from that, like just widening up the discussion and widening up the discourse. Like you're never going to you're never going to be done with that. Like as a curator, you're never going to be like, I've got all the input I need. Like you're always going to need more input as a curator. So that's just been wonderful, and a wonderful reminder of that, because sometimes we just get so in the weeds and we just keep grinding away and we forget that we need to talk about this work. So that's been really wonderful. And then also, I mean, once we sort of got to the point where we knew what our slate was, looping the mentees into the very boring email threads with the distributors. No offense to the distributors if there's any on this call, but just like the email threads, to be like, hey, we need the marketing assets. Hey, like, what are the terms going to be? Like, just to sort of show the kind of like the back end of the process. Because when I started this job, when I started in this industry, like nobody taught me how to do that, and I just had to really make a fool out of myself. Like there are some people at Sony probably who remember me making a fool out of myself and like asking for films that they didn't have, or like asking for terms that they would never give me in a million years. So I really like to be able to, say like, okay, here's how it all works. Here as it lays out. Although Alyssa and Bradley have booked films and worked with film festivals and had that experience already themselves, but just to be able to go from like soup to nuts, from like asking about a film to booking a film to getting the assets to seeing you, Colton, getting all the materials and pulling it all together. Like it's just really great for all of us to see each other working, and you, Colton, working, and Art House Convergence, like getting all the material together. So I think it's just really wonderful to just all of us to be working as a team, because sometimes you just don't get to work as a team. So that's been something I've really valued and benefited from, but also hopefully have been able to contribute to during the process.
Teamwork makes the dream work, as they say.
That's right. And it's a dream team, so it all works out.
Yeah. So on the other side of that, Alyssa, just curious, with this being your first fellowship with Art House Convergence, obviously, and learning from Rebecca and Stephanye. If you want to just chat about, the whole process all the way back from the application to now, like what has been some of the things that you've learned from them and this program, and, how have you brought your own programming experiences into this fellowship as well?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It's like I think I came across this posting for this fellowship because when I was working at River Run last year, as a box office manager, I got very curious about just curation and programming. And so David and Kate, who were like the main programmers, and Mary Dossinger, they were like the main programmers of River Run. I was like, okay, what do you do? I'm very curious. I want to learn more about this. And I started looking at programming fellowships. But a lot of them were like either super specific to like that city. And I was like, okay, I need something remote. And I was like, something a little bit more flexible, but kind of just, I don't know. And there was just something that I was looking for. And then I was talking to the curator at Aperture about just how he curates, and brings in films for them to show. And then I also had some programming experience when I was an intern for Out at the Movies, while I was a grad student. So I kind of just created like a 6-month slate for just like community screenings and things like that. So like I was able to program Saving Face, which was one of my favorites to show. which else did we show? I think we showed Carol later, um, but a whole bunch of them. And I was like, okay, I think I want to learn more about this. And then I was like on Instagram randomly one day, and I saw this like it was like AHTD fellowship, programming fellowship. And I was like, girl, what's this? I was like, I am so interested. And I just like looked and everything, because it's like I had that interest and I was in that world and I was like doing volunteer programming for Real Out Charlotte. And I was just kind of like, okay, I wanted more of that hands-on experience. And everything that I saw within like the description, I was like, oh, boop, boop, just checks, like wanting to learn about film writing. I did film writing when I was an undergrad and I wanted to focus more on that, just kind of learning the intricacies, and just kind of like what it truly means to program. Like you're not just watching films, but it's like you're learning how it influences, certain demographics, markets, like how is it going to appeal to these, different places, because it's like, yes, I can choose what I love and I can watch all these films. I'm like, yes, I love this film. Why don't we just like pick what I want? It's so much more than that. Um, and Stephanie and Rebecca have just been like really, really amazing with teaching me that. But yeah, I just like looked at the application process, and there was one question that really stood out to me, that kind of just really pushed me to do it. And it was like, do you have experience in just kind of like underrepresented cinema or queer cinema? And just like looking for more of those voices. And I was like, Zooey Mama, yes. And I was like, and I sat in the library and I just kind of wrote my essay, my statement, just kind of like my experience with programming, and my extensive background with film from both an academic side and within just like my own practice. And I didn't think that they would reach out to me because I was like, okay, I'll just turn this in or whatever. And then they reached out and I was like, oh my gosh. And I just met Kate and Stephanie and Rebecca, and I was like, oh, this is just so warm and it's just so awesome. And I was like, okay, I think I really want to do this. But I sent in my stuff with the intention of, with my heart being like, okay, yes, I want to do this, but I was like, if I don't get it, I'm okay. Like I think I'm okay, but I was like preparing myself. Um, but all in all, the heart of it was me being able to immerse myself more um into the programmatic ethics, and just kind of like understanding certain philosophies, and things like that, more than what I had learned in my different things. But it's like, how does this happen within an independent art house aspect? And yeah, it's just been amazing so far. I've learned so much. Just watched a lot of films and being able to look at them. So it's like I already look at films a certain way when I watch them, but it's like, okay, changing the lens a little bit, and this has added another lens for me, of being able to see something, and how, in like when I'm writing like certain verbiage that I should be using, maybe something I should avoid, that's meant to be more inclusive, um, and more open and things like that, and kind of moving away from that academic um, background that I'm used to, and opening myself up to that. So that's been a real eye opener for me. So I hope I answered the questions, Colton, but
Absolutely, yeah.
cool.
And Bradley has joined us now. So Bradley, to put you on the spot, welcome in. If you want to just introduce yourself first, and then similar question to Alyssa, just kind of, just go over some of the things that maybe you've learned from the program or from Rebecca and Stephanie specifically, just through this whole process from application, sending it in to now. Uh, so the floor is yours.
Thanks, Colton. Hey, everybody. Sorry for being late. But I'm very happy to be here and be part of this fellowship program. I think I echo a lot of what my fellow kind of said about the experience here. And I think working with Stephanie and Rebecca has been amazing. And, for me as an emerging programmer, I never really thought of that as something I wanted to do as like a life goal. And I moved to Phoenix in 2020 for graduate school, and the pandemic killed our last art house theater. So it's kind of like the first time in my life being someone from San Francisco, where I was kind of spoiled and never even had to consider all the work that went on behind the scenes to deliver incredible cinematic experiences in the Bay Area of California. Um, so flashing forward to finishing grad school and starting to just show films and showing kind of artist made cinema and moving image works. I realized how much I had to learn doing it kind of on my own as a pop up. And same thing when I saw this, I believe I also saw it on Instagram. I realized that curating involved a lot of writing skills I didn't really have. And what I've learned from Stephanie and Rebecca is like, how do you deal with kind of a specific situation of something like Art House Theater Day? And then how do you go about understanding all the partners, which is all of you folks that are part of this network, and kind of understanding a little bit more of like what this day is for and how programming can be like a tool to really celebrate cinema, but that doesn't mean, you know, we liked a lot of movies that we watched that we didn't pick for this, really just kind of again honing in on what this day is for, and kind of understanding a little bit from Rebecca and Stephanie about kind of what the experiences of running a permanent brick and mortar cinema, because my experiences have been in the pop-up space. So I would say sorting through films and then also understanding even some of the logistical things of, you know, straight runs and some of the, you know, I guess brass tacks of, you know, distribution and reaching out to license films for screenings and, you know, promos and getting ahead, you know, months ahead of certain programming things versus I think sometimes in the pop-up world it is a little bit less than that, you know, in my experience. And then, yeah, really working using language and writing as a tool also to advocate for films and celebrate them has been, you know, I would say the things that I've taken away from this most. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Bradley.
Yeah.
Let's move over to the slate a little bit because that's what everyone here is curious about. So this question is for anyone, so anyone feel free to jump in. But what would you say is kind of the overarching theme of the Art House Theater Day programming slate in 2026?
Who wants to go?
I'm deferring to the fellows.
Same. You guys are in the hot seat.
You want to go, Bradley?
I could start us off if you help me finish it out. Um, I think, yeah, we were talking a lot about kind of our personal interests in programming and stuff in the beginning, but for me at least, as soon as Boots Riley came on as the ambassador, and we all just like were kind of gushing about Sorry to Bother You, and we're all like, I saw I Love Boosters, by the way. We were all talking about like, oh my gosh, we can't wait to watch I Love Boosters. Um, we started to kind of, I guess, feel that out as an anchor point of sorts to branch out from, and kind of really just, yeah, we were all vibing off of how kind of subversive that film is and how political, but still it's very funny and very stylish and very colorful. So for me, that was kind of like very really helpful to think of that anchor point, and also to kind of like where we're at and how insane the world is in a lot of ways, and still finding the cinema as a space of escape that can kind of take this other angle into maybe critiquing or engaging with certain kind of things that seem really topical, but doing it in the way of film like Sorry to Bother You and how it engages in that way. So, yeah, Alissa, what else do you want to add?
Yeah. Because like I don't know, just kind of like reviewing all of the films. Um, I would say there's like this magical absurdity to a majority of them. Um, but also it's like an underlying, yeah. So if there's one word or something that I could think, absurd, if I could add a little bit more magical absurdity, because the more that I looked like back at them, there's fight and there's this kind of reaching out from the working class, just wanting to be seen as human and people just wanting to be heard. Um, and that's, from all of them, just either wanting to be paid fairly, to be heard about any strife that they're going through. So like, thinking about network and things like that, um, Sugar Island, and things like that. There's this subversive way that you're able to look at exploitation and kind of turn that on its head, and things like that, but just make it more open and more inviting, um, and just letting people know that they have a seat at the table, and it's like you can fight along these people too, but you gotta there's a little bit of madness through it. Um, and I was like, okay, we got the Esquisapiens. I'm very happy about that. So it's like, that was kind of like at the forefront as soon as I heard that we had Boots Riley. I was like, oh, Esquisapiens. I know that every film is not going to have those, but I feel like the absurdity um, is at the heart of it. So that's just kind of what I realized. I just noticed a pattern through all of them, and I was like, oh, and I don't think we meant that by any point. It just happened. Maybe we're trying to say something. I don't know. But that's where um yeah, I just look back and I reflected because like I'll just be in deep thought about something and I was like, huh, did we mean to program something about the exploitation of the working class? Oh no, what happened? It was like, oh what? Um so yeah, I don't know. That's just something, but absurd, uprising, hurrah.
Awesome. Yeah, and then maybe even going a little bit further, just curious if anyone wants to jump in on this too, but just what about Boots Riley as an ambassador for Art House Theater Day just makes sense to you? Like, in terms of obviously Sorry to Bother You being included in the slate and, I Love Boosters and his other films, but just him as an activist and a person. Just curious if anyone has any thoughts on, why he makes a really great ambassador for something like indie cinemas.
I mean, has anybody seen his Twitter and Instagram
His
activities
tweets are
lately?
crazy.
This man is an ambassador, okay? Like, I have not seen a filmmaker go so hard for not just their film, but other films in a very, very, very long time. And it's been so exciting to see. There's nothing wrong with self promotion. And I think a lot of times directors are kind of shy to talk about their work. But literally, if you say anything about Boosters or Boots Riley, he is going to appear. He is going to appear. And I think somebody that is so committed to the future of independent film, it was no way we could have anyone besides him be an ambassador this year. And I mean, also, who else would give us such funny videos?
Yeah, and I think it's so great. Like he's got this great sense of humor too, and this sense of like warm, inviting humor. And I think like sometimes the art house can feel really intimidating to people. Like if you've never been to your local art house, people are like, I don't know if that's for me. Like I don't know what they're showing there. Like I don't know. But like there's something about Boots that just like you like he's a party. Like he's a good time. Like I want to go where he's going. Like I want to go where he's hanging out. And I feel like he's got this, like his energy is so infectious and so exciting and so inviting. And so like just every like piece of collateral or like all the like all of his videos, all of his tweet, like everything's just really, I just like he's just such a like a friend to the art house. Like he's just like he's like a friend to the art house cinema goer. And so yeah, he's just like a warm face, warm voice, warm person to represent Art House Theater Day, but also like a citizen of cinema. So really, really great representative. Alyssa, you might have been starting to say something. I might have heard your voice. Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. I was like, wait, and then I lost my thought, so it was fine. But like Stephanie, what you were saying about the tweets, like that man is on my Twitter feed. And so I saw like somebody quoted, they were like, oh my gosh, I told my boss that I wasn't able to go and see I Love Boosters, and Boots Riley came and beat him up. And so, it was like so and yeah, he's just everywhere. But it's like also it's like the way that he's advocating for it. He's like, you gotta go because they're gonna pull the screenings. And that's true because I looked on my Regal Cinema. There's like a Regal Cinema IMAX theater 20 minutes down the road from me. And so their screenings of I Love Booster stops on Thursday. But my art house theater in Uptown Charlotte, they are still playing that until I think June 3rd. I don't know how far out it goes. But I was like, the representation's there, the advocacy is there. And so it's like, okay, you have that safe space of knowing, okay, like I love boosters, and just like a Regal or Stone Theaters or something, I can go and see it there. And so I bought my ticket, so I'm seeing it twice. So I'll be seeing it tonight, and then at Regal, and then I'll be going to see it at Independent Picture House later this week. But yeah, he's just such an activist and has been an activist ever since he was young. This man literally um when was it? I think it was like in middle school. Um, he was advocating and started picketing, ever since then. And so it's like he's always been a person for the people. And that's apparent in his work, and just completely anti-capitalist and anti-institution. Um, and so making sure that people know where they need to go. And then just kind of seeing how kind and guiding he is. It's like also a playful manner to where he's on Twitter and he's just like, oh my gosh, it would be different if it's a director and they're just like, you got to go see this film, if not yada yada. But he's like, no, you need to go because he's like, he's like, we got no choice. He's like, you got to go. You really have to because it saves Black cinema and it saves independent Black cinema and it keeps us at the forefront. I don't know if we're ever going to have like another Sinners again, um, within the Black cinema space. But it's like we have to keep showing up, and make it a double feature before Is God is out of there. I Love Boosters, see them back to back. I would say like that's the most important thing, in keeping those spaces at the forefront. But Boots is just a very powerful, um, authentic, warm, and radiating voice within the space um, of activism, and really honing in for the people. And it just made sense. I was like, this is the dude. This is the G. Um, so it's a win-win. Yes, Kara Young double feature for the win. You gotta go.
Okay, so moving away from Boots for a bit, let's talk about the slate outside of Sorry to Bother You. If someone wants to jump in for each of these individual films, that'd be great. But what about, let's start with Network. What about Network spoke to you to include it as part of this year's slate, especially outside of the 50th anniversary celebration?
Well, I don't know. Bradley, I know you and I had really strong feelings about this one. I think I put my cards on the table really, really early about this, but Bradley, I want to defer to you if you want to speak about it.
Um, okay, well, all I'll say is I hadn't watched it since the 2000. It's been like 20 years. And I remembered really liking it, but I don't know, so you were really enthusiastic about it. And then, and this is also something I learned from Rebecca and Stephanie as mentors on a separate note to the earlier question is like, being very clear about their enthusiasm and then leaving space for Alissa and I to kind of feel our way, and then we'd have another meeting and then we'd all agree or disagree, but like leaving space for that versus being too heavy of a presence in a group dynamic. So I just wanted to shout you guys out for being, I learned you guys model that. But anyways, once I watched Network again, I was like, ooh, it's still got it. It's really sharp. The critique, and it's really fun. And I felt like I instantly saw some, from a different like cultural space, but still some very critical and very satirical kind of like this dark satire of the media space. And I felt some echoes with actually Sorry to Bother You and Booth's work, coming with a different flavor and palette, but all the same, saying like, hey, we have some pretty big problems and we're going to go on a wild ride while we look at them, and kind of enjoy that. But yeah, that was I was awesome to watch the Network again. Yeah.
And I say Network is one of those movies that, like, no matter when you watch it, like in 2000, when you watched it, 20 plus years ago, or in 2026 or 1976, I mean, it is a film that's like, it could be today, it could be 1976. It's just like, it always hits in a very like spooky, creepy, like prescient, mind-blowing way. So it's incredible that it's 50 years old because it feels very today. So it's exciting to have it in the slate. And yes, I was very much like, I'm very excited about this, but I will hold back on my excitement. So I was happy that others were enthusiastic and that it did have this sort of this like absurd anger, absurd sort of fighting back that linked it to Sorry to Bother You. I was really happy that we discussed it and found that connection as well.
Yeah.
Cool. And yeah, just a quick shout out to Park Circus and Amazon MGM for inclusion in the slate for Network, and also I guess Outsider and Annapurna for Sorry to Bother You. Let's see. Let's go to Orfeo. Anyone want to talk about Orfeo?
Orfeo is a fun one, and it came early. So I feel like the films that came early also kind of helped set the tone. Just kind of piggybacking off what Bradley said about Sorry to Bother You, kind of setting a foundation. And it's just so dreamlike and gets absurd, and it's colorful, and it's all the things that uh words you would use to describe a Boots Riley film. And I think too, like it's not as heavy as some of the other topics that the films are talking about. But love is a thing. And as the youth say, yearning is the new hot thing. So to, kind of put in a film that shows what it really feels like to be head over heels with somebody and willing to cross dimensions, and go in some closets and come out of some weird rooms and see some kooky stuff. And it was no way we couldn't include Orfeo. It just had all the components that would make for a great film to show for Art House Theater Day.
And
Also, it is a beautiful 74 minutes long. 74 minutes long. Orfeo. What a running time. Beautiful.
Awesome. Yeah, 74 minutes is perfect.
Very easy to program. Very easy to program.
And shout out to Oscilloscope Laboratories for Orfeo. Okay, let's see. Who wants to chat about Sugar Island? Go ahead.
This was one of the first ones that came in for us. I think it was like one of the first three. And it's one of the more grounded, so not as absurd or within the magical. So I would say that this is a little bit different, but it's so beautiful and it's so grounded. I felt myself kind of going through the plight of the protagonist, and just kind of like all of the worries that she has, and rooting for her. I don't want to spoil it, so I'm not gonna say too much about it. But again, you're fighting for labor, you're fighting for rights, you're fighting to be seen as a human, you're fighting for land, you're fighting for all of these things that should be, just granted to you as a human being for existing. And then also having to deal with immigration, having to deal, with not having, the proper papers or proper card. And so it's like, okay, still fighting to be seen as, a human being, where do you go from that? Um, but yeah, Sugar Island is just a really wonderful story of a young girl um, wanting to find her way through injustice, discrimination, and turning to art, her performance art, as a way to navigate all of the instability within her life as well. And when I saw this, I was just blown away, and I was just like, where did this film come from? And just knowing that it hasn't had a premiere yet, a theatrical premiere, I believe. I think that was like um, a no-brainer for me to be able to get this out to um, a large amount of audiences as much as possible, because it still kind of fits within that magicality that we ended up finding ourselves in. Like Orfeo, I felt like I was floating throughout watching the film. Again, 74-minute runtime, very beautiful. You're gliding through it. You're being uplifted. And then with Sugar Island, when you watch that one, it's like it's a bit more gritty at times, but it's like you're unearthing with her in a way. So that was something that just really, really stuck with me. And I was like, yeah, this is something you got to get to the people.
And shout out to Art Madden for giving us terms for Sugar Island. Let's see, Car Wash, 50, another 50th anniversary film. Anybody have any thoughts on Car Wash?
Stand and deliver, honey. I don't play me. I love me some Car Wash. I grew up watching it, and it's just funky. It's colorful. It's still fresh. Is real. Pertinent, speaks to a lot of themes. That's all I'm gonna say because I know Rebecca got thoughts about it, but because I don't want to take up about that. But yeah, I watched it again, different from when I was a child, and everything just like kind of hit me in a certain way, and I was like the people. I said we need something funky, real, but I don't know, something that gets you out of your seat and makes you want to dance, but also hits you with the reality. I'll let Rebecca take it.
No, I think you're totally right. I mean, we should also note that Car Wash and Network are both 4K restorations, so they both look amazing. And Car Wash is celebrating its 50th anniversary, and it's funny, and it's also super. It's similar to Network, but very different. Like it's has these points and these moments that are super prescient and super timely for now. It's people working for pay that should be higher. It's people who are fighting for rights and respect that they should have that they don't have. It's written by Joel Schumacher, rest in peace, a queer screenwriter and a director. It's directed by Michael Schultz, a Black filmmaker who did Cooley High. If you know Cooley High, an amazing film, a Milwaukee-born filmmaker. He also did Crush Groove, if you know Crush Groove, a great film. So they're just this writer and this director who made this film that's like, you're sort of like, this was made in 1976. It's so great for 1976. It's so great for 2026. I think it's something that could be programmed as a late night film, like sort of like not like a midnight, maybe midnight if you do midnight screenings, but it doesn't have to be. Like it's funny and it's sort of like biting, but it's not like, super like what's it like crude. It's got like it's just like really, really smart comedy. So if you're thinking about when to program it, it's like this is great for like a Friday night, Saturday night. But it also, I think, would bring a lot of people out for like a Saturday matinee who remember this from the 70s and from the 80s. Like I remember watching it on like TBS, like very, very edited and lots of commercial breaks. But so I think this will reach a lot of people in like a nostalgic way, but it'll also reach a lot of audiences for the first time. So it's great. And it does make you want to stand up and dance and cheer, and you will laugh. And there's so many incredible characters and some great character actors and some great like cameo appearances from some actors that people will recognize. It's great. It's just great. It's fun and super smart. Yeah, it's great.
Shout out TBS.
TBS is basically my film education before film school.
That's so real.
Car Wash was given to us by Universal, and like Rebecca said, it is a new 4K, so it looks awesome on screen. And our last film in the slate that joined us is Once Upon a Time in a Cinema from Myriad Pictures. Anyone have any thoughts there?
Yeah, this one I thought was like super important to include because cinemas are at a critical time, right? All these articles are always, oh, cinemas are at a critical time. But the upside is indie cinemas are doing so much better than our like multiplexes. And so all is not lost. And I think a lot of that is because our indie cinemas are thinking about ways to better engage their audiences and bring in new audiences. But I think a lot of people just don't know what it takes to run an indie cinema. And so this film kind of pulls that curtain back and allows people to see that like it's all hands on deck. It's absurd. It's silly. It's all the things. But at the end of the day, you know, you get people into this one room to have this shared experience. And that's something you just can't duplicate via streaming. And so we're really just pushing our house convergence agenda with with this inclusion. But there are also themes that do line up with the absurdity and the whimsy of this year's overarching themes. So
Awesome. Well, yeah, that's the slate, guys. So those are the six titles that we are very excited for everyone to program. Hopefully, we can get above 100 cinemas this year to participate, and everyone can, choose from the slate and, have something for everyone at your cinema. Like Rebecca said, Car Wash being a more late night title, and Once Upon a Time in a Cinema is like a family matinee sort of thing. All options are at play. And since we only have a few minutes left, I guess I'll just finish with one final question for everyone that we can each answer individually. But just curious on your own personal thoughts, what Art House Theater Day and the year-round spaces cultivated by the independent cinema community mean to you personally? And let's see, let's start with Alissa.
Mm, for me, it's kind of a space to learn how to reconnect with yourself. And it's like, yes, hearing different stories, but it's like reconnecting to humanity. And it's kind of like rewiring yourself. You might have had just like a long week or something. And I'm mostly just talking about going to, the cinema and things like that. Because it's like every time I come out of a movie, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm a completely different person. And it's like I want to do better. I want to be better. It's like a relieving breath of fresh air. And so that's just something that's really stuck out to me um, about it. And then what was the other part of the question?
Just about Art House Theater Day too. Like,
Mhm.
what does this day kind of mean to you personally?
It means for you to bring your friends and then also bringing your loved ones and your family and being able to see films that either aren't too, you haven't heard of but are very curious about, or have seen, in the past, and wanting to reconnect with those in a different way and see them, in a restored light. Um, but I would say it's about community connection. I would say you're laughing, you're crying, you're surrounded by people finding finding something within a film. Everybody has seen something and has connected to something a certain way. People watch Car Wash, growing up with it, and they felt a certain way. When I think about it, I think of my papa. And so being able to, connect with him and sing with him and the Pointer Sisters or something like that, and Richard Pryor. Um, and so I'm gonna, take him to go and see that. And so there's just like a whole bunch of stuff. But yeah, mostly it's just about reconnection to yourself and reconnection to your community.
Cool. Stephanie, let's jump to you.
Yeah, I think for me, it's all about advocacy. When you buy a ticket at an independent cinema, you are telling funders, you're telling distributors, you're that these spaces matter and that they're important and that they're needed in our community. And so anything that we can do to, support the folks who are really in the community, really doing this work and making sure that independent filmmakers have a place to set their films and have an audience to watch them, it's important. So this is all, I look at this as complete advocacy work that we're all doing. Something so small as buying a little ticket really means the world to indie cinemas and the filmmakers whose work is shown here.
Rebecca.
Yeah, I think it's all about like relationships and a reminder of the relationships that we have with one another in this community, and with our audiences. This is a day that even if we don't know it, like we do know it, but even if we don't know each other, like there's cinemas across the country that are going to be participating, and either they're going to be showing all six of these films, or maybe one of these films, or two or three. It makes me think of that, that moment in like maybe it's Lord of the Rings where like they all light those like torches like across the mountains. I think it's in Lord of the Rings. And like one torch lights and then another torch lights. I think it's Lord of the Rings. It's some sort of sci-fi movie, but I think it's Lord of the Rings. Um,
It is.
and it's like, yeah, yeah, you know what I'm talking about. So it's like we're all like in our other spaces where there's a rural cinema, or you're in New York City or San Francisco or wherever you are, some big city or some small space. If you're participating in Art House Theater Day, like you are linked, like you are a torch, like you are a torch bearer, and we're all together linked by this very special day. And so we're all in a relationship together. We're all linked. We all have this connective tissue to one another. And then we all have this relationship to our audience. So our audiences are all linked together too. And that's very, very special. And that's very, very strong. And that's very, very powerful. So it's a reminder to ourselves, as much as it is a reminder to our audiences about how special we are. It's a reminder to ourselves because like sometimes you can really get in it and you're just like, I mentioned this at the beginning, like you can really get in the grind and you're just doing it. But it's like a reminder we are all very, very powerfully linked to one another. And we all have a relationship with one another, and we're all here for one another. So have fun with the day, and know that like the torches are lit all across the country, and that and Boots Riley is holding one of them, and and have fun with the day, and connect with your audience and connect with one another. Yeah, and enjoy the day as much as you can, and have fun, and sit and watch one of the films if you can. Like take the day yourself and have fun with the films too.
That's that's an analogy that I think will continue forever throughout our house theater day.
Good. The torches.
Yeah. Bradley, we'll finish up with you.
Yeah, I think so much good stuff's been said already, and maybe I would just add to it that for me, art house cinema spaces have always been where I learned what cinema could be. I'll still go to a multiplex. I love movies, but the things that have shaped me the most and pointed me down my path have always been things that I've found either in the repertory space, the independent space, and the art house space. And I think so often we're thinking about what movie to see. And I think it's really cool to have a day like this to celebrate the spaces themselves. And like Rebecca was saying, the torches on the hill. I always love thinking about the cinema as a bonfire to gather around, and that, like actually, like Alissa said, you kind of leave changed each time, whether you go by yourself or you go to connect with other people, or it's just the film and you're connecting with ideas and stories, whether they're from a movie released this year or I'm a big fan of the repertory space. Seeing this go around was my first time seeing Car Wash. So like what a beautiful experience to see that for the first time today, and to be able to be part of saying like you can see that in a theater with a 4K restoration. The music's going to be bumping, and there's going to be other people like sharing that infectious energy. And even if they're strangers, I think that really does change the flavor of the experience. And I mean, I don't have to say that to this group. We're all here, I think, because we love the darkened auditorium. As much as we all still probably stream things out of necessity and convenience and comfort at home. The theater is a singular experience that it's so worth it to celebrate the people who make that happen. And it's one of the few spaces meeting, when I've, as a filmmaker, kind of toured and shown at certain places, there's just zero competition because we're all like only some metro areas maybe have one or two or three spaces tops that everyone's willing to share and talk about why they're there and the movies they love. So to kind of get on the same page for one day is really cool, I think. Yeah.
Well said, Bradley. Yeah, so that's our slate. Congratulations to our mentors and fellows this year for all the work that they've put in. Also would love to say thank you for to our distributors for agreeing to have our films in their slate or their films in our slate. And maybe you heard a sneak peek for the theme for 2027. A little fire, some fire action, maybe. We'll see. But thank you all. Save the date for July 30th for our House Theater Day, and feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. Other than that, that's it.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you guys.
Colton. Thanks. Good to see everybody. Bye.